This offensive line group, which we expected to be a strength, is bad right now. And Bret Bielema said after the game, we need to protect our quarterback better, and we need to, as coaches, to put ourselves in better positions. We know who we are now, and we need to change based on that. So I followed up with your offense was expected to take a step in year one, and Bret Bielema again brought up we don't have an identity. He keeps saying that week after week. That's not a good thing for Barry Loney Jr. And then I asked Bret Bielema, you've said this over and over again. We need an identity. How do you address that? And I thought Bret Bielema's answer was really, really interesting.
We got to have some hard conversations, with the coaches, and I can, decide all we want. I've tried to put it in their hands, but I think as a head coach, I got to decide what our identity is and force it that way. And I know that we're, obviously short a little bit in certain positions, but I like our wide receiver core. I like our running back core. I like the tight ends where they're at. We got to give our quarterback a chance. I think what we can do is look at what we're doing offensive line-wise, what we're asking those guys to do. And I know what we want to do, but sometimes you got to make the decision, is it something we ask our guys to do? And if they can't do it, do we eliminate it and find another option? Because obviously the one that we're trying to use isn't working.
So, yeah, you're probably not very comfortable if you're Barry Loney right now. And I do think it's time for Bret Bielema to have those uncomfortable conversations with Barry Loney, because what does Barry want to be? A lot of 11 personnel mixed with some 12 personnel. But I just don't think Illinois has the offensive line to not have more tight ends in the game, Joey, to help protect, to help establish the run game. And I don't think you have the receivers right now to play three receivers on the field at one point right now. So they got to have huge conversations this week and make those changes we thought they did on defense, both in Ryan Walters' first year and Aaron Henry. Those conversations need to have on offense now.
Yeah, and I also think you need to determine what you're asking Luke Altmaier to do. And I think for as much as we talked about his arm, he's shown that it is a good arm. These long developing routes to set up these big explosive plays, which has been a point of emphasis. We've asked about it seemingly for weeks. You don't have the offensive line to let those things set up. So do you circle back to a more Tommy DeVito-esque, get the ball out quick, run those RPOs, quick shots, let guys like Isaiah Williams, Pat Bryant, is it a Malik Elzey, a Hank Beatty, Kenari Wilcher, make some of those moves after the catch? We haven't seen that. So I think it's everything, right? They're not run blocking particularly well. They're not protecting Luke Altmaier. I know there's a lot of discussion about the right tackle, all fair. But I think if there's where do you pull from, right, on the offensive line? I think it comes squarely back to quarterback not having time, can't get a run game going. And a lot of it's just some that certainly falls on Luke Altmaier as well in terms of his clock's got to speed up. You mentioned that a lot last week, Jeremy. I think we saw that today, particularly on the play that resulted in a touchdown. It's tenfold, man. It's not just the offensive line, but that's a big part of it.
Yeah, and it's what Bret Bielema's always had good, and it's not good right now. And I think you can look back and be like, man, this staff went all of the offseason thinking Zy Chrysler would be the answer at right tackle. Zy got hurt, was on a cart leaving the game. It didn't look good, so we'll get an update on him, I'm sure, on Monday. But you might even lose a piece of what you thought was your best five. But, man, the fact that they thought Zy Chrysler would be their best five, now they didn't get to see it a lot in practice because he was out the whole spring. He was out for half of training camp. But that looks like a misfire, a misevaluation of this staff. And so far, Barry Loney Jr. able to move the ball last week against a group of five opponent. The turnovers against Penn State, I didn't think were on him for the most part. He didn't drop the ball that Pat Bryant had squarely in his hands.
He didn't overthrow Henry Boyer.
Yeah, he didn't overthrow Henry Boyer. So there were some things that were there. Like if those two plays happen, if they connect, Altmaier makes the throw to Boyer and Bryant hauls it in, we might be thinking differently. But, man, it's just they cannot protect the quarterback right now. And it just feels like you can't keep dropping back in those long drop backs. And Luke Altmaier's got to understand, I got to get the ball out quicker. But, man, I feel for him because he's constantly under duress. But the other thing is they keep getting down. They keep getting down. Like they even got a 3-0 lead today. Luke Altmaier coughs up the ball. They go down and led for 10-6, and that was the last lead they had in this game. This team is not built to do that. So that's both on the offense and the defense there. But offensively, they just have not been able to establish. They were expected to take another leap in year two with Barry. He sounded very confident about that. That is not happening.
No, my project for this week, probably tomorrow before the press conference is Monday, is go back because it feels to me like that first drive, the scripted drive, they're able to go, they're able to move. And then from drive 2 through the end of the first half, it feels largely like a stall out. And I need to go back and look at those numbers because there's just a lot of lulls offensively. There's a lot of 3 and outs, and the defense goes back out there. And the defense isn't perfect. The turnover or the penalties, I mean, the way those extend drives, you cannot have those. But, man, it just feels like they're trotting out there time over because the offense is 3 and out or a turnover. And there's just no – I don't feel like at any point, correct me, Jeremy, if maybe you've seen something differently, that I felt like the offense has had like multi-drive momentum building. I just don't feel like I've seen that from this team this year, and that's problematic.